The quiet power most people ignore. Imagine walking into a room filled with people. Everyone is talking. Everyone is trying to be noticed. Some are telling stories loudly. Others are bragging about their achievements. Some are trying desperately to prove they are important. And then there is one person sitting quietly. They are calm. They are observing everything. They are not trying to impress anyone. Yet strangely, people keep looking at them. They feel their presence. There is something different about them. They speak less, but when they finally say something, everyone listens. Why? Because there is a kind of power that comes from silence. A power that most people overlook. A power the ancient Stoic philosophers deeply understood. In today's world, success is often associated with noise. People believe the loudest voice wins. The one who talks the most. The one who promotes themselves constantly. The one who demands attention. But history tells a different story. Many of the most powerful minds in history shared one surprising trait. They mastered the art of silence. They moved quietly. They observed carefully. They spoke only when necessary. And because of that, their words carried weight. This is the silent strategy. A strategy rarely discussed, yet incredibly powerful. The Stoics believed silence was not weakness. Silence was discipline. Silence was control. Silence was strength. And today, we are going to explore how this ancient philosophy can transform your mindset, your relationships, and your path to success. Because in a world filled with noise, the quiet mind often becomes the strongest one. The world rewards noise, but respects silence. Look around today. Social media is full of noise. Everyone is announcing the goals. Everyone is posting their achievements. Everyone is arguing with strangers. People want attention more than they want growth. They want validation more than they want discipline. They want recognition more than they want mastery. The modern world encourages constant talking. But the Stoics believed something very different. They believed most talk is unnecessary. In fact, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once advised, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Think about that idea. Nature itself designed us to listen more than we talk. Yet most people do the opposite. They interrupt. They dominate conversations. They talk without thinking. They react emotionally. But the Stoic takes a different path. The Stoic listens first. They observe. They understand the situation before responding. And because of that, their words become powerful. When someone speaks rarely, people begin to value what they say. But when someone speaks constantly, their words lose meaning. Imagine someone who complains every day. After a while, people stop listening. But if someone who rarely complains suddenly speaks, everyone pays attention. Silence creates impact. And the Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that controlling speech is one of the highest forms of self-discipline. Because speech reveals the mind. A chaotic mind speaks endlessly. A disciplined mind speaks carefully. And the silent mind often sees things others miss. Why silence is psychological power. Silence does something powerful to human psychology. It creates mystery. When someone constantly explains themselves, there is no curiosity left. Everything about them is exposed. But when someone remains calm and quiet, people begin to wonder about them. They ask themselves, what is this person thinking? Why are they so calm? Why aren't they reacting like everyone else? This curiosity creates influence, because mystery draws attention, and attention creates respect. Think about the most confident person you have ever met. Were they loud and desperate for attention? Or were they calm and composed? Often the most confident individuals are quiet. They do not feel the need to prove themselves. They do not argue with everyone. They do not chase validation. They simply exist with quiet strength. This is what the Stoics practiced. Inner stability. They understood something most people miss. The louder you try to prove your worth, the more insecure you appear. But when you are calm and silent, you signal confidence. You signal control, and people feel it immediately. Silence protects your energy. One of the biggest advantages of silence is energy conservation. Talking takes energy. Arguing takes energy. Explaining yourself repeatedly takes energy. And many people waste their entire day doing exactly that. They argue online. They complain to friends. They defend themselves in unnecessary debates. They explain their plans to people who do not even support them. By the end of the day, their energy is gone. But the Stoic conserves energy. They do not argue with everyone. They do not respond to every criticism. They do not waste time explaining themselves. Instead, they invest their energy into action, into improvement, into building their future. This is why many successful individuals prefer silence, because silence protects focus. And focus builds success. When you stop reacting to everything around you, you gain control of your attention. And attention is one of the most valuable resources you have. The hidden cost of talking too much. Many people believe talking makes them powerful, but often it does the opposite. Talking too much exposes your plans. It reveals your weaknesses. It invites criticism. Imagine someone constantly announcing the goals. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to become rich. I'm going to change my life. At first people might support them. But if months pass and nothing happens, people begin to doubt them. The talker loses credibility. But the silent worker does something different. They say very little. They focus on action. And one day, results appear. Suddenly people say, "Wow, I didn't even know they were working on that." That is the silent strategy. Work quietly. Let success make the noise. The Stoics admired this approach, because they believed actions matter far more than words. Marcus Aurelius once wrote something powerful. Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. In other words, stop explaining yourself. Stop worrying about opinions. Focus on your actions. The discipline of speech. Stoicism teaches that discipline is the foundation of freedom, and one of the hardest disciplines is speech. Because words come easily, emotions push them out quickly, but wisdom slows them down. Before speaking, Stoics ask themselves simple questions. Is this necessary? Is this true? Is this helpful? If the answer is no, silence is often the better option. Most conversations in the modern world fail this test. They are filled with gossip, complaints, arguments, unnecessary opinions. But the Stoic mind seeks clarity, purpose, meaning, so they speak less often, but with greater impact. Because the fewer words you use, the more carefully you choose them. Silence creates emotional control. Another reason Stoics value silence is emotional control. Many people speak in moments of anger. They say things they later regret. Words spoken in emotion can damage relationships permanently. But silence gives space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to calm the mind. The Stoics believed emotions are not the enemy, but uncontrolled emotions are dangerous. And silence gives you the ability to pause before reacting. That pause can change everything. Instead of reacting immediately, you respond wisely. Instead of escalating conflict, you maintain peace. Instead of losing control, you demonstrate strength. And people notice that strength. Because emotional control is rare. But it is incredibly powerful. Why powerful people speak less. If you study history carefully, you will notice something interesting. Many powerful leaders were not the loudest people in the room. They did not constantly try to dominate conversations. They did not waste energy explaining themselves. Instead, they listened, they observed, they waited, then they acted. True power rarely feels the need to shout. Because power does not depend on attention. It depends on control. Control over emotions, control over decisions, control over actions, and silence strengthens all three. When you speak less, you naturally begin to observe more. You notice things others miss. You read people more accurately. You sense intentions, emotions, and hidden motives. Most people reveal themselves through their words. They talk about their fears. They reveal their insecurities. They expose their plans. But the silent person remains difficult to read. And that mystery creates influence. This is why strategic silence has always been a powerful leadership trait. When a leader speaks rarely, people listen more carefully. Their words carry weight. Their silence carries meaning. Even their pauses become powerful. Because silence signals confidence. It tells people, I do not need to rush. I do not need to prove myself. I am in control. And control is the foundation of authority. The strength of the observant mind. There is a simple truth about human behavior. People reveal themselves constantly. But most individuals are too busy talking to notice it. Think about how many times people interrupt each other in conversation. Everyone wants to share their thoughts. Few people actually listen. But the Stoic trains the mind differently. They practice observation. They pay attention to tone, to body language, to patterns in behavior. They watch carefully before speaking. And because of that, they gather valuable information. Information that helps them make better decisions. Silence sharpens perception. When your mind is not occupied with talking, it becomes free to notice details. Small things that others overlook. A change in someone's tone. A subtle hesitation in their voice. A look of discomfort. These signals reveal far more than words ever could. And the person who sees clearly, acts wisely. This is why silence is not passive. It is active awareness. The silent mind is always working, always observing, always learning. Why talking too much creates weakness. Many people believe talking confidently makes them powerful. But excessive talking often reveals insecurity. When someone constantly explains themselves, they may actually be trying to convince themselves. When someone constantly brags about success, they may be seeking validation. When someone constantly argues, they may feel threatened. Talking becomes a shield for insecurity. But the Stoic does not rely on words to build identity. Their identity comes from discipline, from actions, from character. They do not need to constantly prove their worth, because they know who they are. This quiet certainty is what creates respect. Think about the calmest person you know, the one who rarely argues, the one who does not react to insults, the one who speaks thoughtfully. There is something powerful about them. People instinctively respect that calm presence, because calmness suggests control, and control suggests strength. But someone who reacts to everything, who argues about every opinion, who constantly needs to be right, appears unstable. Even if they speak loudly, even if they dominate conversations. True strength does not feel threatened by silence. The Stoic response to criticism. Criticism is something every person will face. No matter what you do in life, someone will disagree with you. Someone will judge you. Someone will criticize your decisions. Most people react emotionally. They defend themselves immediately. They argue. They try to prove the critic wrong. But Stoic philosophy offers a different strategy. Pause. Listen. Reflect. Ask yourself, is this criticism true? If it is true, then it is valuable, because it helps you improve. If it is false, then it is meaningless, because lies cannot damage your character. Either way, there is no need for emotional reaction. Silence protects your peace. Imagine someone insulting you. If you react with anger, the conflict grows. But if you remain calm and silent, the insult loses power. Because insults require reaction to survive. Without reaction, they fade. This is one of the most powerful mental strategies in Stoicism. Control your reaction, because your reaction determines your peace. Why silence confuses your opponents. There is another interesting psychological effect of silence. Silence can disarm people. When someone expects an emotional reaction, and they receive none, they become confused. Think about arguments. Most arguments escalate because both sides react emotionally. Each person feeds the other's anger. But when one person stays calm and silent, the cycle breaks. The other person loses momentum. Their anger has nowhere to go. Silence becomes a form of quiet strength. It signals that you are not controlled by emotions. And this can completely change the dynamic of a situation. People often expect resistance. They expect defense. But when they encounter calm silence instead, they begin to question themselves. This is why Stoics rarely engage in pointless arguments. They understand something most people forget. Not every challenge deserves a response. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. The hidden advantage of being underestimated. One of the greatest benefits of silence is that people often underestimate quiet individuals. They assume silence means weakness. They assume quiet people lack ambition. They assume calmness means passivity. But these assumptions can become advantages. Because when people underestimate you, they lower the guard. They reveal their strategies. They expose their intentions. And while they are distracted by their assumptions, you continue improving quietly. Many great achievements in history were built this way. Slowly, silently, without constant attention. Success does not need to be announced every day. It only needs to appear eventually. And when it does, it speaks louder than any words. The difference between silence and suppression. It is important to understand something. Stoic silence is not about suppressing thoughts or emotions. It is about choosing the right moment to speak. Silence becomes unhealthy only when it hides truth. But Stoic silence is intentional. It is thoughtful. It is strategic. A Stoic does not avoid speaking forever. They simply refuse to speak impulsively. They wait until their words have value. They wait until their words serve purpose. And when they speak, people listen. Because their voice is rare. And rare things are valuable. The calm mind wins in chaos. Life will always contain chaos. Unexpected problems. Difficult people. Stressful situations. But the calm mind navigates chaos more effectively. Silence helps you remain calm. When you pause before reacting, you create space between emotion and action. That space is where wisdom lives. Most mistakes happen because people react instantly. They speak too quickly. They act too quickly. They let emotions control them. But the Stoic mind slows down. It observes the situation first. Then it responds with clarity. In moments of chaos, the calmest person often becomes the leader. Because everyone else is reacting emotionally. And calmness becomes a guiding force. The strength that comes from within. There is a kind of strength that most people never develop. It is not physical strength. It is not loud confidence. It is something deeper. It is inner strength. The kind of strength that allows someone to remain calm while everyone else is panicking. The kind of strength that allows someone to stay focused while others are distracted. The kind of strength that allows someone to endure criticism without collapsing emotionally. The Stoics believed this strength is built through discipline. And one of the most powerful disciplines is the discipline of silence. Because silence forces you to face your own mind. When you stop filling every moment with conversation, noise, and distraction, you begin to hear your thoughts more clearly. And that can be uncomfortable. Many people avoid silence because silence exposes their fears, the doubts, their insecurities. But the Stoic does not run from these things. The Stoic studies them. Because understanding your mind is the first step to mastering it. Why most people fear silence. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence makes people? In a conversation, even a few seconds of silence can feel awkward. People rush to fill the gap with words. They talk about anything just to avoid the quiet moment. But why? Because silence removes distraction, and without distraction, the mind begins to wander. Thoughts appear, questions appear, unresolved emotions appear. Many people are not comfortable with this, so they fill their lives with constant noise, music, conversations, notifications, social media, endless talking. But the Stoic understands something important. Silence is not empty. Silence is space for clarity. In silence, the mind begins to organize itself. Problems become clearer, solutions appear, and emotions calm down. Silence gives your mind the chance to breathe. The Stoic practice of reflection. One of the most powerful habits practiced by Stoic philosophers was reflection. At the end of the day, they would sit quietly and review their actions. They would ask themselves simple questions. What did I do well today? Where did I lose control of my emotions? What could I improve tomorrow? This practice requires silence. Because reflection cannot happen in a noisy mind. When you reflect regularly, something powerful happens. You begin to understand yourself. You notice your patterns, your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers. And once you see these patterns clearly, you gain the power to change them. But without silence, this awareness never develops. The mind stays busy reacting to external noise. And personal growth remains slow. Silence strengthens emotional resilience. Life will always test you. There will be criticism, failure, rejection, unexpected problems. These challenges can either break your spirit or strengthen it. The difference often lies in how you respond internally. People who react emotionally to every difficulty quickly become exhausted. Their mood rises and falls constantly. They depend on external events to feel stable. But the Stoic builds emotional resilience. And silence plays a key role in that process. When something difficult happens, the Stoic pauses. They do not immediately react. They allow the emotional wave to pass. Then they examine the situation calmly. They ask themselves, what is within my control? What is outside my control? If something is outside their control, they accept it. If something is within their control, they improve it. This calm response protects the mind from unnecessary suffering. And silence makes this response possible. The power of mental distance. One of the most valuable abilities a person can develop is mental distance. Mental distance means the ability to step back from your emotions and observe them. Instead of becoming anger, you observe anger. Instead of becoming fear, you observe fear. Instead of becoming frustration, you observe frustration. This distance gives you control. But control requires pause, and pause requires silence. When you create space between emotion and reaction, something powerful happens. You regain authority over your mind. Instead of emotions controlling you, you begin to guide them. This is one of the greatest strengths Stoic philosophy teaches. And it begins with learning how to stay silent in moments of emotional intensity. Silence protects your focus. Modern life is full of distractions. Phones vibrate constantly. Messages arrive every minute. People demand attention from every direction. In this environment, focus becomes rare. But focus is the foundation of achievement. Every great accomplishment requires deep concentration. And deep concentration requires quiet. Not just external quiet, but internal quiet. A mind that is constantly reacting to noise cannot build anything meaningful. But the silent mind develops depth. When you reduce unnecessary conversations, when you limit distractions, when you create quiet moments for thinking, your ability to focus increases dramatically. And when focus increases, productivity increases, creativity increases, progress accelerates. Silence becomes the environment where great work is created. The calm mind sees opportunities. When your mind is noisy and reactive, opportunities often pass unnoticed. Because your attention is scattered. But a calm mind notices things others miss. A calm mind sees patterns, connections, possibilities. This is why many successful individuals schedule time for quiet thinking. They understand that ideas often appear in silence. The best strategies rarely appear in chaotic moments. They appear in calm reflection. When the mind has space to explore possibilities, silence becomes a creative force. It allows the brain to connect ideas in ways that constant activity cannot. This is one of the hidden advantages of a quiet life. It gives your mind room to innovate. The discipline of not reacting. One of the hardest skills to develop is the ability not to react immediately. Someone insults you. Someone criticizes your work. Someone misunderstands your intentions. Your instinct is to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to correct them, to prove them wrong. But the Stoic pauses. Because immediate reactions often create bigger problems. Words spoken in emotion can damage relationships. They can escalate conflict. They can create regrets. But silence gives time. Time for emotions to settle. Time for logic to return. And often, after a few moments of silence, you realize something important. The reaction was unnecessary. The argument was pointless. The criticism did not matter. And by remaining silent, you protected your peace. Silence builds self-mastery. Self-mastery is the ultimate Stoic goal. It means becoming the ruler of your own mind. Not controlled by fear. Not controlled by anger. Not controlled by external opinions. But self-mastery does not happen automatically. It requires training, daily discipline, and silence plays an important role in that training. Every time you choose not to react impulsively. You strengthen self-control. Every time you choose observation instead of argument, you strengthen patience. Every time you choose calmness instead of emotional reaction. You strengthen resilience. Over time, these small moments of silence transform your character. You become steadier, stronger, more focused, more respected. And most importantly, more peaceful. The quiet path to strength. The modern world celebrates loud success. But many of the strongest individuals follow a quieter path. They work without constant attention. They grow without constant validation. They build discipline away from the spotlight. Their progress is steady. Their confidence is quiet. And their strength becomes undeniable. This is the silent strategy. Not the strategy of hiding, but the strategy of building strength internally before showing it externally. Because true strength does not need to be announced every day. Eventually, it becomes visible to everyone. Why insults affect most people. One of the biggest tests of emotional strength is how you respond to disrespect. Someone criticizes you. Someone mocks your efforts. Someone spreads negative opinions about you. And suddenly, your mind becomes restless. You replay their words over and over again. You feel the urge to defend yourself. You want to respond immediately. You want to prove them wrong. This reaction is natural. Humans are social beings. Our brains are wired to care about how others see us. But the Stoics believed something very important. Other people's opinions do not define your character. Only your actions do. If someone insults you, there are only two possibilities. Either what they say is true, or it is false. If it is true, then the criticism can help you grow. If it is false, then it has no real power. Either way, reacting emotionally is unnecessary. And this is where the silent strategy becomes powerful. Why silence disarms insults. Insults survive on reaction. When someone insults you, they expect a response. They expect anger. They expect defense. They expect argument. But when they receive silence instead, something strange happens. The insult loses its power. Because without reaction, the emotional exchange cannot continue. Imagine someone throwing a stone into still water. If the water is calm, the ripples fade quickly. But if the water is already turbulent, the disturbance grows. Your reaction determines the intensity of the situation, and silence often keeps the water calm. This does not mean you accept disrespect. It means you refuse to be controlled by it, and that refusal is powerful. Understanding the source of criticism. Another Stoic insight is that criticism often reveals more about the speaker than the target. People project their frustrations, their insecurities, their fears. Someone who constantly criticizes others may actually be struggling internally. Someone who mocks your progress may secretly feel threatened by it. Someone who spreads negativity may simply lack peace within themselves. Understanding this changes your perspective. Instead of feeling attacked, you feel compassion, because you realize their words come from their own internal battles. This awareness protects your emotional balance, and silence allows you to maintain that balance. The Stoic view of reputation. Many people spend enormous energy protecting their reputation. They worry about what everyone thinks. They defend themselves constantly. They explain their choices repeatedly. But Stoics believed reputation is largely outside our control. People will always form opinions. Some will admire you. Some will criticize you. Some will misunderstand you completely. Trying to control every opinion is exhausting. Instead, Stoics focus on character. Because character is within your control. If your actions are honest, if your intentions are good, then the opinions of others lose their power. Over time, consistent actions reveal the truth, and silence helps you stay focused on those actions. When silence is the strongest answer, there are moments when speaking is necessary. There are also moments when silence speaks louder. Imagine someone trying to provoke you publicly. If you react emotionally, you give them exactly what they want. Attention, drama, conflict. But if you remain calm and silent, you remove the fuel from the situation. Observers notice this. They see who is reacting emotionally and who remains composed. And often, the calm person earns respect without saying a word. Silence can communicate confidence, control, and dignity.